Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles. No doubt many of you are probably waiting to hear my take on the continuing shitstorm that is the current status of the World of Warships Community Contributor Program. For those of you who aren't aware with what's exactly going on, things have come to a bit of a head recently with the USS Missouri seeing its return to the game, locked behind a gambling paywall. Not particularly impressed that Wargaming continue to push gambling mechanics into a game that's marketed to children as young as the age of 7. Then of course there's the legacy owners of the USS Missouri who are not getting the credit earnings from their existing Missouris that they were promised. All of this is of course just the tip of the iceberg, and coming so close on the heels of the PR disaster that was the introduction of HMCS Yukon, where Wargaming promised to communicate more effectively. Again, and again, we gave them the benefit of the doubt. And again, they've betrayed that trust. Today's video, however, is not the place for me to address my concerns, because the situation is still developing. However, I do promise to go into this in much greater detail in Monday's episode of Mingles with Jingles. In the meantime, I hope you're going to be entertained by the exploits of multiple Castros here in the European Tier 10 destroyer, the Halland, in this all Tier 10 domination battle on the hotspot map. And yes, the UI is still broken in replays, and yes, I still have to pause it, edit it out, and fix it at the start of every battle. It's been, what, 2 patches now, and it's still broken. No rush, Wargaming. Fix it in your own time. Meanwhile, Castro's has had his first encounter with the enemy aircraft carrier, the Midway, and unfortunately the Midway appears to know what he's doing, because he ran straight into a Halland with reinforced priority sector and defensive fire up, and bugged out, waited out the defensive fire, and didn't commit and lose his aircraft. So a carrier player who's capable of thinking and breathing at the same time is not good news when you're in a destroyer. Also, note the located indicator up here. That means that there's somebody on the enemy team with the RPF skill, which means they now have an arrow pointing straight towards Castro's. And it's probably going to be that Z52. Because from the Z52's perspective, assuming it is him who's running the RPF skill, that arrow points straight towards the closest enemy. And right now, they don't get much closer than this. Now, the Z52 is very wisely slowing and hiding inside the smokescreen. But he has his hydro running, and it's German hydro, so he's going to know the torpedoes are on the way. And that German hydro is basically a mini radar that lasts forever. It's got extremely long range by hydro standards, and it lasts for minutes, unlike radar. Castro's is going to have to do the old hippy shake here to avoid any of those Z52 torpedoes, but he has done it, and he's managed to outrun the hydro range. First blood goes to the enemy team. They've managed to sink one of the other destroyers. This is quite a destroyer-heavy game. There were 4 on each team. There's only 3 left on Castro's team. He's warning that Gearing to get back. Gearing, you are sailing into Z52 hydro range. Wow, okay, so there's another destroyer over there somewhere, and sure enough, the Gearing's getting shot at. So he's hydroed, and his smokescreen is a complete waste of time. I guess the Gearing thought it was worth it in order to get his torpedoes away and potentially sink that Z52, but, well, I guess we're going to see whether or not it was worth it. Note also, by the way, the superb support that Castro's is getting from the friendly carrier. He's not going to get bothered too much by the enemy Midway throughout the course of this match, and that's for 2 reasons. I mean, the carrier's already demonstrated he's capable of thinking and breathing at the same time, and carrier players who can think and breathe at the same time tend to stay away from Hallands. Unless they have no choice, because, well, strong AA, defensive fire is a nasty combination. Plus, because Castro's is divisioned up with the carrier on his team, he's going to be able to enjoy pretty much round-the-clock fighter cover. Now, Castro's has moved back into hydro range of that Z52, so he is once again spotted, but unlike the Gearing, Castro's has moved into hydro range in a location where nobody can actually shoot at him. Nobody has direct line of fire. Plus, while Z52 Hydro does last a long time, it's been running a while now, and yep, sure enough, it's just expired. So Castro's careful positioning means that he's able to enjoy something that Halland players normally don't get to enjoy. The cover provided by the smokescreen that was dropped earlier by the Gearing. The good thing about American smoke is that it does last forever, and the gearing dropped a very, very big smokescreen. It's entirely possible that that was the gearing's intent all along. It's so well done to him, because that is a very, very good smokescreen. I think I should point out that despite the fact that the team have just gone up by 1 kill as Z52 was sunk, it's still just a 1 kill lead, and this is actually a pretty poor start for the team. The enemy team hold all 3 of the caps already. They're 100 points ahead, and that points lead is not going to get any smaller as long as these caps remain uncontested. So, Castro's is doing just that. Some extra points from kills, of course, would be much appreciated, which the Napoli here appears to be only too willing to help with. Oh, more torpedoes. That's a lot of torpedoes. Actually, that's a... Whoa! I think that's all of the torpedoes. You know, I think there may be more than one enemy destroyer over here. The Marceau was spotted over on the other flank. We know there's a gearing over here. Those are probably his torpedoes on the right-hand side of the screen. But the existence of fresh torpedoes from the middle probably indicates the presence of the enemy Halland. That's not a nice combination. The gearing can launch a lot of hard-hitting torpedoes, and the Halland can launch a lot of extremely fast and quick reloading torpedoes. And they seem to be setting up a torpedo crossfire, which is real bad news for any of the battleships. The team have just lost a Thunderer. They're still ahead by 1 kill, but the enemy team are starting to claw it back, and they have a 200 and nearly 250 point lead. I've just realised I haven't given my customary blurb describing the characteristics of the ship that we're seeing played here. Well, I'll keep it short. The Halland doesn't get a smokescreen. The guns are very nice. It's reasonably stealthy. It's not particularly fast, but the torpedoes are insanely quick and very quick reloading. They have a base speed of 86 knots, and they only take 100 seconds to reload. That's before you apply any modifiers from crew skills or equipment. It doesn't have a smokescreen, but it does come with a heel, and it has the defensive fire anti-aircraft defense consumable. And he has just managed to flip the team's first cap, which was sorely needed, because they've just lost another ship, and they're now nearly 350 points behind. Actually, they're more than 350 points behind. It's not all doom and gloom, however, because the other friendly Halland is in the process of flipping the central cap at Bravo, and he just got reset by the midway. Literally with seconds to go. Oh well, never mind. On the bright side, friendly Conqueror did just sink a Petropavlovsk, and these torpedoes are looking pretty good. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention about the Halland's torpedoes, which I'm sure veteran World of Warships players will be aware of, but for the benefit of those of you who watch these videos even though you don't play the game, it does fire a fair amount of them. They are exceptionally fast, and they do have a very good reload, but they don't hit very hard, not individually. Throw enough shit at the wall and it's going to stick, of course. And by the way, there's the torpedo armament expert talent just activated, which means that Castro's is running Jersey Swersey, or however you pronounce his name, as his captain, which means that for every 8 torpedo hits ribbons, it reduces the reload time of the torpedoes by 5%, and you can earn this talent multiple times during the course of the same battle. The Halland is a particularly good ship on which to have this captain. However, as we saw from the initial 3 torpedo hits on the Yamato before he ran into the second salvo as well, individually these torpedoes do not do a huge amount of damage. In fact, you pretty much have to hit a target with 3 Halland torpedoes to get the same result that you would from 1 torpedo of just about any other Tier 10 destroyer. Which I suppose is fair and balanced because, well, as you've seen, the Halland does get to fire an awful lot of torpedoes during the course of your average 20-minute duration World of Warships domination match. As for the overall situation, things are improving. Well, they were until the Conqueror got himself sunk by the Marceau. But they're still not terrible. They're around 200 points behind, but they do have 2 caps, and they're still maintaining a kill advantage, although it is still hovering at the 1. Oh, those are a lot of torpedoes. That is not looking good. They might not be able to hold on to this kill advantage for very long. There goes the gearing. And why is the Grosser Kurfürst sailing away from the Montana? That's the question I would like the answer to. The Grosser Kurfürst has deadly secondaries and excellent hydro. We saw how effective German hydro was earlier with the Z52. The Grosser Kurfürst is even better. And it's exactly what you want when you're facing an Ohio on low health, backed up by a pair of enemy destroyers. He could have wrecked the Ohio's broadside with his guns, which the Montana is having a damn good stab at himself, and suppressed the two destroyers with his hydro and secondaries. Instead, the Grosser Kurfürst is heading south, where he intends to take on another Grosser Kurfürst, Montana, and the carrier by himself. That's the hill that he's decided he's going to die on, rather than actually being useful over here. I'm not saying the Grosser Kurfürst could have prevented the death of the Montana. I think that was going to happen either way. But if he'd been here, and I'm also not saying he has to charge two destroyers, but he could have kept the safe distance, kept the heads down with his secondaries, and protected this cap circle with his hydro. As it is, he's heading off south to fight 3 enemy ships at the same time, and he's left Castro's up here to fight 3 enemy ships at the same time, one of which he has managed to sink. I'm not trying to tell the Grosser Kurfürst what he should have done here. Well, okay, I am. But I'm just saying, if you have to pick a hill to die on, pick the hill where you stand a better chance of taking more of them with you. Because right now, even after using his heal, he's got about a quarter of the health of those 2 enemy destroyers. Both the Gearing and the Halland are pretty much on full health. And the team have just lost the friendly Halland. Now he is, once again, getting some great support from the friendly carrier. Now, I'm not expecting the Hakuryu's rocket attack planes to do much other than provide some initial spotting, because they're rocket attack planes, they're not great at attacking destroyers, and that's a Halland and a Gearing, so they're going to die very, very quickly. But they have at least provided the initial spotting. And while this does seem like a suicidal gunfight to get into, the destroyer kiting away always has the advantage, because he can land torpedoes on the pursuing destroyer, and the pursuing destroyer cannot. Still, it was an incredibly close thing. And he's not out of the woods yet, because the Gearing is still over there, and here comes the Midway, although the AA Defense Expert skill has just also triggered, which means that the continuous damage of his anti-aircraft defences is now boosted by 10%, which is a fair amount for the rest of the game. You get that for shooting down 20 aircraft. Thankfully, a lot of those aircraft shot down were fighters, either catapult fighters launched by the ships that he's been engaging, or consumable fighters dropped by the Midway's attack squadrons. And the good thing about fighters is that they have trivial amounts of health. They are very, very easy to farm kills on in order to trigger talents like Jersey Swerzy's AA Gun Expert. And again, friendly carrier to the rescue, spotting the Gearing for him, which means he's able to engage without being in clear line of fire, although he's probably going to want to cool it now, because that Midway is coming back. Torpedoes away. Fighter cover would be really, really nice around about now, although defensive fire is still available. No, he's peeled away. Okay, we're good. The Gearing's still alive though, and he's flipping that cap circle. Although the overall situation is promising. I mean, with the exception of that one cap circle being flipped by the Gearing, which he can't really do anything about right now, they are actually ahead on points, and they do still hold 2 of the cap circles, and the kills are even. So at the moment, all they have to do is hold on to what they have, and not die, and they'll win. There's the fighter cover he asked for. Unfortunately, that was a bit of a waste of the defensive fire consumable, because those Midway aircraft just, well, noped right out of there. And you don't need defensive fire to take care of the fighters that he dropped, so yeah, that's a bit of a shame. That Stalingrad is going balls deep, however. Well, he's got his radar, and he knows there's a Gearing that needs killing, but the thing about the Gearing is it has torpedoes. And, yeah. I mean, they are successfully defending the cap here, but I'm not entirely sure that they needed to defend the cap if it means sacrificing a Stalingrad, who has got the Gearing. But, yeah, I mean, it was a reasonable trade. I mean, I'm sure the Stalingrad didn't intend to trade his life for the gearings, but, well, that's what happened anyway. And it wasn't even a fair trade, because, of course, a cruiser is worth more points than a destroyer, so they're still comfortably ahead, about 150 points. And they still hold 2 of the caps. But, well, they haven't even prevented the flipping of Capture Point Bravo. What the gearing started, the Grosser Kurfürst is about to finish. And of course, the Grosser Kurfürst is going to be an incredibly difficult target to torpedo because he has German hydro. And you really don't want to be getting close enough to get spotted because of his secondaries. So the enemy team are probably going to take that cap. But that's alright, it's not critical. They still have parity on kills, and they're still over 200 points ahead. In fact, they're nearly 300 points ahead. And providing nobody else dies, that's only going to continue to improve because they do have 2 cap circles and there's less than 4.5 minutes of this game remaining. So if everybody else could not die, please, and if we could finish off the Montana, those were some nice torpedo hits. Yeah, and again, if that had been any other tier 10 destroyer, the Montana would be dead because each of those torpedoes individually would have done 3 times as much damage. But that is the price that you pay for having torpedoes that are as fast as these and that reload as quickly as they do. Meanwhile, the Smolensk, because let's not forget the team as well as the carrier also has a Smolensk in play, is desperately trying, there he is, to finish off that Montana, so good for him. He needs to be careful though, because he is a light cruiser and those are 2 enemy battleships, and they're both shooting at him. Although, if I did have to pick a light cruiser in which to be, while getting shot at by tier 10 battleships, the Smolensk is definitely the one because its armour is so bad that large caliber armour piercing just tends to overpenetrate and only does 10% damage. So it may seem completely counterintuitive, but the Smolensk actually probably wants to give broadside to battleships so that those shells just pass straight through. Ooh. Nah. No, he's going to get 2 torpedo hits, maybe. In fact, I don't even think he's going to get 2. He's going to be lucky to get 1. Yep. It did cause a flood, which the Grosser Kurfürst is not damage controlling, so there's that. But what the Smolensk is not doing here is giving broadside. Instead, he's given those 2 battleships the opportunity to hit him with raking shots that are going to travel the entire length of the ship because you're either bow or stern facing towards the battleship shooting at you. And that gives the shells chances for the fuse to arm, which means you get citadeled. Now they are still 200 points ahead, and the carrier is still doing his damnedest to take that Montana down, but the Montana's healing up. But despite the fact that I do think the Hakuryu has played a great game so far, particularly with regards to his support toward his division mate here, what he has forgotten is that he is a carrier and not an airfield and can move, and unfortunately sat in the same place for so long that he got spotted and killed by the battleships. On the bright side, that was enough torpedoes not just to trigger the Torpedo Armament Expert Award again, but also to finally take care of that Grosser Kurfürst. So, shit just got real. He's the last one standing, he's got just over 6,000 health left, but unlike some of his teammates, he does at least understand that with 1.5 minutes remaining and 917 points on the scoreboard, he does not need to win any harder than he already is. However, while he shouldn't have any problems whatsoever staying away from the Montana, the enemy Midway is a different kettle of fish entirely. He can no longer rely on fighter cover from the Hakuryu, and the Midway has already demonstrated that he is entirely capable of thinking and breathing at the same time. And to make matters worse, he's now completely out of consumables. He's probably really regretting wasting his last defensive fire, because you know that Midway is going to be coming looking for him. There's less than a minute to go. I don't know what's going to happen first. Is he going to reach 1,000 points? Because he's at 947. But there's only 40 seconds of the match remaining. And here come the Midway's dive bombers, and it's a full squadron. He probably would not be able to take them out even if he did have the defensive fire consumable ready, not before they got at least 1 strike off. His teammates are telling him to attack. I can only hope and pray that they're being sarcastic, because that is the worst advice since Marie Antoinette said, give them cake. Everybody likes cake. His AA guns are off. He's hoping to get away undetected. But I think yeah, he's been spotted. AA guns on. It's not going to be enough. 4 seconds to go. Here come the dive bombers. They're in the dive. The bombs are in the air. The match timer expires, and Multiple Castros escapes, survives, and wins by the skin of his teeth. Sadly, in all the excitement, Castros forgot to send me one, so once again it's down to me to create my own world-famous post-battle results screen. And here it is. You're welcome. No extra charge. Gaze upon my works, ye mighty, and despair. What? That's art, that is. Anyway, Multiple Castros, well done. Very entertaining game to watch. Thank you for sending it in. I hope everybody else agrees and enjoys it, because that's it for today. And as always, take care, stay safe, and I'll catch you next time.